Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Robert Canter. Exodia, the Forbidden One, is one of the most iconic monsters in the history of Yugioh, and he's finally getting some new cards. But before we get into that, here's a brief recap of the monster's lore. Exodia is based on the ancient Egyptian god Osiris, who was betrayed and murdered by his brother Set, who hacked him into pieces. But Osiris's wife Isis, along with her loyal servant Anubis, reassembled the pieces, and Osiris became the ruler of the underworld. But this got me thinking, why not just call him Osiris? Where did the name Exodia come from? For those of you that didn't already know this, in Japan, Slifer the Sky Dragon is actually called Osiris, and the name Slifer comes from the name of the executive producer of the English dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! But that still doesn't answer the question as to why the late Kazuki Takahashi decided to name the guy who got here first, Exodia. I've researched, I've analyzed, and here's my best guess. The closest thing to Exodia's name that I can find is the book of Exodus in the Bible, which tells the story of how Moses led the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and was given the law by God. There is also a minor deity in Egyptian mythology called Ea, which simply translates to moon. Eventually, this minor deity was assimilated with Osiris, called Osiris Ea, similar to how Amun and Ra became Amun-Ra. Egyptian mythology is weird. So, Kazuki Takahashi took the second book in the Bible and changed the last two letters. Alright, let's take a look at those cards. First up is the headliner, the Phantom Exodia Incarnate. This fusion monster is summoned with 5 Forbidden One cards. As long as he's on the field, he cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Once per turn, if he battles an opponent's monster, during damage calculation, he gains attack equal to your current life points. Once per turn, he can negate the activation of a spell, trap card, or its effect. Once per turn, during the end phase, you can set one Exod spell, trap, or obliterate directly from your deck. And during your standby phase, you lose 1,000 life points. So, his attack points are dependent on your life points. And you lose 1,000 each turn, so obviously you can't screw around. The text just said that this monster can't be destroyed by card effects, but you can still banish him or return him to the extra deck. Also, he can only negate one spell or trap effect each turn. It doesn't say anything about monster effects. Remember, when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, the devil is in the details. The Millennium Cross is used exclusively to summon the Phantom Exodia Incarnate. The card text reads, take 5 Forbidden One monster cards from your hand, deck, and/or face-up field and reveal them. Then special summon 1, the Phantom Exodia Incarnate from your extra deck. Then shuffle all face-up monster cards you control into the deck, except Exodia monster cards, whose original level is 10 or higher, as well as Senin or Millennium monster cards. Also, you cannot summon monsters in the rest of this turn, but you can normal set. After activation, shuffle this card into the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. Next up is the quick play spell card, Exod Blaze. One level 10 or higher monster you control with Exodia in its original name gains these effects. You can pay half your life points. You cannot activate other cards or their effects for the rest of this turn. Also, destroy as many cards in the spell and trap zone as possible. Then equip 5 Forbidden One monsters of your hand and or deck to this card as equipped spells that give it 2000 attack. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. It's clear to me this card isn't worth the effort. The fixed 2000 attack points this would give to Phantom Exodia Incarnate isn't worth half your life points. Even with the piercing effect, it wouldn't give you a one-turn kill, unless you substantially increased your life points since the start of the duel. Personally, I'd rather just go with Fairy Meteor Crush. And last but certainly not least, we have Raging Hellfire Exod Flame. If you control a level 10 or higher Exodia monster, destroy all cards your opponent controls. If this card is in your graveyard, except during the turn it was sent there, you can banish it and activate one of these effects. Add one Forbidden One monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Or shuffle up to 5 Forbidden One monsters from your graveyard and or banishment into the deck. And you can only use each effect of Raging Hellfire Exod Flame once per turn. As anyone who's played an Exodia draw engine deck can tell you, sometimes the Forbidden One cards end up in the graveyard, or worse, they get banished. This is due to the effects of cards such as Hand Destruction or the Allure of Darkness. There aren't a lot of cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That let you return banished cards to your deck, so this one will really come in handy. That's all I've got to say. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and if you really want to help this channel out, click the links in the description below and buy my books. The Shadow Angel Genesis is a story about a vampire that has spent the past 500 years as the Vatican's personal monster hunter. Hashtag real vampires don't sparkle. The South Bend Dark Frog Murders is a bold and bloody murder mystery that offers a very compelling look at the degradation of morality and social structure in America and the world, all wrapped up in nail-biting entertainment. And the true story of Mrs. Claus is a very creative but wholesome reimagining of a character that is well known but often overlooked. Each one is available on the Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Outskirts Press websites. So click the links in the description below and get yours today.